the battle you can't escape. There's a voice inside you that whispers, "Not today." It's the same voice that talks you out of your dreams, your goals, your potential. It tells you to stay comfortable, to wait, to rest a little longer. But deep down, another voice, quieter, stronger, calls you to rise. It's the voice of your higher self, the one that knows what you're capable of, and between these two voices lies the hardest battle you'll ever fight, the battle to make your mind do what it doesn't want to do. This audiobook is about winning that battle. Not by wishing, not by waiting for motivation, but by mastering the art of forcing your mind to do hard things, especially when every part of you screams, "I can't." You're not weak for struggling, you're human, but you're here because you're done letting comfort control you. This journey will teach you how to push through resistance, build mental armor, and unlock a part of yourself you've never fully met, the part that acts even when it hurts, the part that chooses growth over ease. Let's begin. Chapter 1: The Real Enemy. Comfort. Have you ever noticed how the hardest battles you face aren't out there in the world, they're inside your own head? It's not the mountain ahead that breaks you, it's the whisper inside that says, "You don't have to climb it today." Every morning, there's a quiet war happening within you, between the part of you that wants to grow and the part that just wants to stay the same. One side calls you to rise, to challenge yourself, to become more. The other side offers you softness, ease, safety. It says, "Relax, you've done enough." And it sounds so gentle, so reasonable, that you almost believe it. But comfort, my friend, is a beautiful liar. It tells you it's giving you rest, but what it's really giving you is decay. It promises peace, but it slowly steals your power. Every time you give in to comfort when you know you should act, you surrender a small piece of your strength. And over time, those small surrenders add up, until one day, you wake up and realize you've built a life that feels safe, but small. This is the truth most people never face. Comfort is not your friend. It is the silent enemy of growth. You see, the human mind is wired for survival, not success. It's ancient, primitive. It wants to protect you from pain, uncertainty, embarrassment, failure. It doesn't care about your dream. It doesn't care about your potential. It only cares that you stay alive. And to your brain, alive simply means comfortable. But comfort is the enemy of evolution. No one ever became strong in safety. No one ever found greatness sitting still. Every extraordinary person you admire, every success story that moves you, was built on discomfort, not ease. They all had moments where they didn't want to act, but did anyway. Think of the first time you tried something hard, maybe going to the gym, starting a business, or simply speaking up for yourself. Do you remember how uncomfortable it felt? How your mind tried to talk you out of it? What if I fail? What if I look stupid? What if I'm not ready? But the moment you pushed past that voice, even for a second, something changed. You felt it, didn't you? That rush of energy, that spark of life, that was growth, that was you breaking free. The truth is, your mind isn't evil, it's just lazy. It doesn't mean to sabotage you, it's just trying to protect you the only way it knows how. But you are not your mind, you are the one who commands it. You have the power to choose discomfort on purpose, to teach your brain that pain is not the enemy, but the path. And that's where everything begins, with awareness. When you start to see comfort for what it really is, a trap disguised as peace, you awaken. You start catching yourself in the small moments where your mind whispers, "Don't bother," and instead of obeying, you pause and act anyway. That pause, that split-second decision to rise, instead of rest, is where transformation begins. Think about how much of your life is designed to avoid discomfort. We scroll instead of think. We snack instead of feel. We talk about goals instead of pursuing them. And the world makes it easy. It sells comfort everywhere you look. Soft chairs, fast answers, instant pleasure. But no one tells you that all this convenience has a cost, your inner strength. The price of constant comfort is the death of resilience, because when everything is easy, you forget how powerful you are when things get hard. And life will get hard. That's not a threat, it's a promise. There will be days when nothing goes right, when your plans fall apart, when the people you counted on disappear. And on those days, your strength won't come from your comfort. It will come from your ability to do what's hard. You see, the people who win in life aren't those who never feel resistance. They're the ones who've trained themselves to move through it. They've built a kind of mental toughness that doesn't depend on how they feel. They act, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Imagine your mind as a wild horse. Left untrained, it runs wherever it wants, toward pleasure, away from pain. But once you take the reins, once you learn to ride it, that same wild energy becomes power, focus, speed. That's what happens when you stop obeying your comfort. You stop being a passenger in your own life and become the driver. So how do you start? Not by overthinking, not by waiting for motivation. You start by choosing small discomforts on purpose. Wake up 10 minutes earlier. Take the cold shower. Finish what you said you would, even when you don't feel like it. Each time you do, you're training your mind. You're teaching it a new language, the language of strength. Because here's the secret, the mind learns through repetition. If you keep choosing discomfort, eventually it stops feeling like pain. It starts feeling like purpose. And when that shift happens, your entire life changes. You begin to crave challenge. You stop running from effort. You start to see yourself as someone who can do hard things, because you've proven it again and again. That's the moment comfort loses its power. When you stop needing life to be easy, life stops breaking you when it gets hard. So as you listen to this audiobook, I want you to carry one thought with you, a thought that can change everything. Comfort will always feel good now, but discipline will always feel better later. Comfort gives you temporary relief. Discipline gives you lasting pride. And pride, the kind that comes from knowing you did what was hard, is the fuel that makes you unstoppable. Every act of discipline, no matter how small, is a vote for the person you're becoming. And that person, the one who does what others won't, is the version of you waiting on the other side of resistance. So today, begin with awareness. Start noticing the moments when your mind says, stay comfortable, and instead of agreeing, smile, because now you know the truth. That voice isn't trying to keep you safe, it's trying to keep you small. And you, my friend, were never meant to live small. You were meant to expand, to push, to stretch, to grow. You were meant to rise above the whispers of comfort and answer the call of challenge. Because that's where your power lives, not in the easy, but in the effort. And when you step into that effort, when you choose discomfort as your teacher, something remarkable happens. You stop fearing hard things. You start seeking them, because you realize that the harder the path, the stronger you become. That's where the real journey begins, not in comfort, but in courage. And in the next chapter, we'll explore the invisible force that stands between you and every goal you've ever wanted, the law of resistance. It's what holds most people back, but if you understand it, it becomes your greatest ally. For now, take a deep breath. You've just taken the first step toward mastering your mind, and from this moment forward, you'll never look at comfort the same way again. Chapter 2. The Law of Resistance. Have you ever noticed that the moment you decide to change your life, really change, something invisible pushes back? You decide to wake up early, and suddenly your bed feels softer. You commit to eating clean, and suddenly the cravings scream louder. You tell yourself you'll finally start that project, and suddenly you're overwhelmed with reasons not to. That invisible force that shows up the second you move towards something meaningful. That's resistance. It's not bad luck. It's not coincidence. It's a law of life. And understanding this law, mastering it, is the difference between living stuck and living strong. Resistance is like gravity. It pulls you down the moment you try to rise. It's not personal, it's universal. Every human being who's ever tried to do something significant has felt it. It's the tension between who you are and who you're meant to become. Your mind feels it first. A sudden wave of hesitation, doubt, or fatigue. You tell yourself, I'll do it later. But later becomes tomorrow, and tomorrow becomes next week, until the spark dies completely. Resistance always arrives dressed as logic. It tells you you're tired, you need a break, or you'll start when it feels right. But its real purpose is simple, to keep you exactly where you are. The reason is ancient. Your brain was designed to keep you safe, not successful. It's built to conserve energy, avoid uncertainty, and protect you from failure. So every time you reach beyond your comfort zone, your brain sounds the alarm. Stop. This feels uncomfortable. This feels dangerous. But the danger isn't real. It's imagined. And that's why resistance feels so strong. Because your brain confuses growth with threat. Think about it like this. If you've ever worked out after a long break, the first few minutes are brutal. Your muscles burn, your lungs ache, and every part of you screams to stop. That pain isn't proof you're weak. It's proof you're waking up. Resistance works the same way. It's the pain of mental growth. Every meaningful pursuit, fitness, art, discipline, self-mastery begins with this wall of resistance. And most people stop there. They interpret resistance as a sign to quit, when in truth it's the sign they're finally on the right path. Because here's the secret: the more important something is for your growth, the more resistance you'll feel toward it. It's a perfect mirror. The greater the fear, the greater the potential. So instead of running from resistance, learn to see it as proof of purpose. It's not blocking your path. It is your path. Let's be honest, resistance never disappears. It's not a dragon you kill once and celebrate forever. It's a shadow that follows you every time you try to rise. But once you understand it, it loses its power to control you. Let's break it down. Resistance shows up in three main forms: fear, doubt, and distraction. Fear tells you you're not ready. Doubt tells you you're not good enough. And distraction tells you there's something else you should be doing. But underneath them all is one truth: resistance appears only when something matters. If you feel nothing, it means you're not stretching. If you feel fear, it means you're standing on the edge of transformation. I want you to remember this: the presence of resistance doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're alive, expanding, evolving. Resistance is not your enemy. It's your teacher. Each time you face it, you're training your mind to obey you instead of control you. Each time you act despite fear, your threshold of strength increases. And every time you push through the voice that says, "Not today," you reclaim a piece of your power. Think of resistance as a test, the universe asking, how badly do you want this? Most people answer by turning away. But those who rise, who face the discomfort and move anyway, are the ones who earn the strength others only dream of. Let's imagine two versions of you. The first version avoids resistance. They choose ease, shortcuts, and comfort. They talk about change, but never sustain it. Their life feels familiar, predictable, and quietly unfulfilling. The second version, the one you're becoming, feels the same fear, the same resistance, but chooses differently. They act anyway. They build consistency when motivation fades. They take the next step even when the finish line feels far. And slowly, that version becomes unstoppable, not because life got easier, but because they did. That's the power of understanding resistance. It's not about removing struggle, it's about reframing it. You stop asking, "Why is this hard?" and start asking, "What is this teaching me?" You stop waiting for the perfect conditions and realize this resistance is the condition. It's the price of becoming who you were meant to be. You can't negotiate with resistance. You can't reason with it. You can only move through it. Action is its only antidote, because the moment you act, Even in the smallest way, the fog of hesitation begins to lift. The second you take that first step, resistance loses its grip. It's like sunlight on ice. It melts the moment you move. That's why so many people talk about their goals but never live. They wait for the day resistance disappears. But that day never comes. They don't realize that courage doesn't come before the action. It's created by the action. So the next time you feel that tension, that invisible weight trying to hold you back, smile. Recognize it for what it is, proof that you're doing something meaningful. Then take the smallest possible step forward. Write the first sentence. Make the first call. Do the first rep. Because once you start, momentum takes over, and momentum is stronger than resistance. The people who achieve greatness aren't immune to fear. They're intimate with it. They've learned to see resistance, not as a stop sign, but as a compass. It points them exactly where they need to go. Wherever they feel the most resistance, that's where their deepest growth lives. Remember this. Resistance will meet you at every level of your journey. When you begin, it whispers. When you grow, it shouts. But no matter how loud it gets, your response stays the same. You move anyway. Because you've learned that freedom doesn't live beyond resistance. It lives through it. Every great story, every transformation, begins at that very point, the edge between hesitation and action. And once you cross it, everything changes. You don't become fearless. You become powerful despite the fear. You don't eliminate struggle. You evolve through it. You don't avoid resistance. You use it as fuel. That's the law of resistance. It never disappears, but it can be mastered. And once you master it, nothing can stop you. In the next chapter, we'll explore why waiting for motivation is one of the greatest traps your mind creates, and how to break free from it forever. Because motivation doesn't lead to action. Action leads to motivation. And when you understand that, your life will never be the same. For now, remember this truth. Resistance is not a wall. It's a doorway, and the key to unlocking it is motion. Chapter 3. Master your inner dialogue. There's a constant voice inside your head. Sometimes it encourages you, sometimes it destroys you. It tells you you're not ready, not good enough, not strong enough, and yet that same voice has the power to lift you higher than anything else in this world. Every moment of your life, that voice speaks softly or loudly, truthfully or deceptively. It's the voice that shapes the way you see yourself, the way you interpret the world, and the way you decide who you can become. Your inner dialogue is not just background noise. It's the blueprint of your entire reality. When you wake up in the morning and think, "I can't do this today," your mind doesn't question you. It obeys. When you whisper, "I'm capable," your body aligns, your spirit strengthens, and your energy shifts toward growth. The words you silently repeat are seeds, and your life becomes the garden that grows from them. Now think about this. How many times have you told yourself you weren't enough, not smart enough, not brave enough, not disciplined enough? You believed those words because they came from inside you. But what if that inner voice was never truly you at all? Most people spend their lives listening to an inner critic that isn't their true self. It's an echo of fear, of judgment, of old stories passed down by others. Voices from the past, a teacher who doubted you, a parent who compared you, a friend who mocked your dreams, all merged into one whisper that lives in your mind. That whisper became your belief. But beliefs are not truth. They are choices. And today, you have the power to choose differently. Your inner voice can become your greatest weapon or your worst enemy. The key is not to silence it, but to train it, because silence creates emptiness, and emptiness invites the old fears back in. But training your mind creates mastery. It's about replacing attack with affirmation, doubt with direction, fear with focus. When your mind says, "I can't," respond with, "Watch me." When it says this is too hard, remind it I've done harder things before. When it whispers, what if I fail? Say, then I'll learn and rise again. This is not about toxic positivity. It's not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about choosing the truth over the lie. The truth is, you are stronger than you think. You have survived moments you once thought would break you. You have faced pain, confusion, and fear, and yet here you are, still breathing, still standing, still searching for growth. That is strength. That is power. Every day, you have a chance to rewrite the story your inner voice tells you. You can replace I'm lost with I'm learning. Replace I'm behind with I'm becoming. Replace I'm not enough with I am evolving into more. Because every word you say to yourself becomes a command to your subconscious, and your subconscious doesn't argue, it obeys. Let's make it practical. Next time your mind attacks you, pause, take one breath. Then answer it, not with emotion, but with truth. Say it out loud if you must. Reclaim authority over your mental space. Your thoughts are guests. You decide who gets to stay. Imagine standing in a room filled with echoes. Every echo represents a thought, some kind, some cruel, some uncertain. You can't stop them all from speaking, but you can choose which one you listen to. Choose the one that reminds you who you're becoming, not who you were. Choose the one that believes in your potential, not your past. Choose the one that helps you move forward, even when you're afraid. That's how transformation begins, not through external success, but internal command. Mastering your inner dialogue is mastering your destiny. Because when your inner world changes, everything outside adjusts to match it. Think of the great achievers in history. Artists, leaders, inventors, dreamers. They all battled the same inner voice of doubt you hear now. The difference? They didn't let it win. They heard it, challenged it, and trained it to serve them instead of control them. Your mind can become your most loyal ally, but only if you teach it how to speak to you. It's time to become your own encourager, your own motivator, your own inner guide. You don't need validation from others when you've built validation within yourself. The next time you catch that whisper of self-doubt, don't fight it with anger. Smile. Recognize it as an old pattern, trying to survive. Then gently, powerfully, replace it with a voice that aligns with your future, not your fears. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who chooses them, and that is your greatest freedom. So today, begin a new habit. Talk to yourself with purpose. When you wake up, affirm your strength. When you fail, affirm your resilience. When you succeed, affirm your gratitude. Every word you feed your mind becomes the energy that drives your future. Your inner dialogue is not background noise. It's the compass of your destiny. And here's the truth most people never realize. You don't need to wait for your life to change before changing your inner voice. You change the voice first, and life follows. The shift begins inside. As we move forward, remember this: the quality of your life will always mirror the quality of your inner conversation. Change that conversation, and you'll change everything. Take one final deep breath as you let that truth settle in. You are not fighting your mind. You are teaching it how to speak in your favor. And once your inner voice becomes your ally, there is nothing you cannot do. In the next chapter, we'll go deeper into the art of discipline through emotional control, because mastering your emotions is how you keep your inner voice strong, steady, and unstoppable. The journey continues, and it's only getting more powerful from here. Chapter 4. The power of emotional discipline. Emotions are powerful. They can build you or break you. They can be the wind that carries you forward or the storm that tears everything apart. Every decision, every mistake, every breakthrough in your life has been driven by emotion. You felt something: fear, excitement, anger, love, and that feeling shaped what you did next. Now imagine this: A person who has mastered their emotions, they don't react, they respond. They don't get pulled by every wave. They steer their ship with precision, even in chaos. That's emotional discipline, the quiet strength that separates the powerful from the powerless. It's not about suppressing your emotions. It's about understanding them so deeply that they no longer control you. Because when you let emotions dictate your behavior, you surrender your power to the moment. But when you control your emotions, you become the master of your destiny. Think about the last time you lost control. Maybe someone said something that lit a fire of anger inside you. Or maybe disappointment sank into your chest so heavily that you stopped believing in yourself. In those moments, your emotions made decisions for you. They spoke louder than your reason, and afterward you probably thought, "I shouldn't have reacted that way." That thought is not guilt, it's awareness. It's your higher self reminding you that there's a better way. Because emotional discipline doesn't mean feeling less, it means feeling everything, but still choosing your response consciously. When someone provokes you, your instinct is to fight or defend. But emotional mastery says, pause, breathe, observe, ask yourself, what outcome do I want here? What will my reaction create? That pause is where your power lives. That single breath between impulse and action is where strength is born. Most people believe success is about working harder, pushing more, doing faster. But the truth is, the greatest victories come from the moments you didn't react emotionally. When you stayed calm while others panicked. When you stayed kind when others were cruel. When you stayed focused when the world tried to distract you. That's emotional discipline, invisible on the outside, but invincible on the inside. Your emotions are signals, not orders. Anger is a signal that something feels unjust. Fear is a signal that something feels uncertain. Sadness is a signal that something meaningful has been lost. Each emotion carries information, but it's up to you to decide what to do with it. You can let anger turn into destruction, or channel it into purpose. You can let fear stop you, or use it to sharpen your awareness. You can let sadness drown you, or let it remind you how deeply you care. Emotions are energy, and energy can always be redirected. When you learn to harness your emotional energy, you become unstoppable, because nothing outside of you can shake the peace inside you. That's the kind of power that can't be bought, imitated, or taken away. Think of the most composed people you've ever met, the ones who stay calm under pressure, who speak softly even when others shout. They're not emotionless, they're emotionally free. They've learned that losing their temper means losing their control. They understand that calmness is not weakness, it's command. Here's something to remember. Emotional discipline is built in small, ordinary moments. When you choose to listen instead of interrupt, you hold your tongue instead of lashing out, when you accept disappointment without collapsing. Each time you choose self-control over reaction, you strengthen your emotional muscle. It's like training in silence. No one sees it, but everyone feels the difference. Because your energy changes, you stop vibrating with chaos and start radiating calm confidence. People can feel it. They respect it, even if they don't understand it. But let's be honest, mastering emotions isn't easy. You will fail sometimes. You'll react before you think. You'll lose your patience, your calm, your balance. And that's okay, because mastery isn't about perfection, it's about awareness and return. The faster you return to calm, the stronger you become. Emotional discipline is not the absence of storms, it's the ability to stand still within them. Start noticing what triggers you, who pushes your buttons, what situations make you anxious, what kind of words make you defensive. Those triggers are your teachers. They show you where you still give your power away. Every time you choose not to react, you reclaim that power. You take back control of your mind, your energy, and your life. Emotional discipline also teaches patience, the ability to wait without resentment, to act without haste. When you learn to be patient, you stop chasing every impulse. You stop needing instant gratification, because you understand that true progress takes time. And in that time, your calm becomes your weapon. There's a quiet kind of strength that grows from emotional mastery. It doesn't roar, it radiates. It doesn't prove, it moves with grace. It doesn't need to win every argument. It knows that peace is the ultimate victory. The world will always test your emotions. People will misunderstand you. Circumstances will frustrate you. Life will shake you to see what you're made of. And in those moments, you have one choice: to react impulsively or respond intentionally. The person who reacts is a slave to emotion. The person who responds is the master of self. And mastery, that is freedom. So from this moment forward, make this your inner promise: I will not let temporary emotions make permanent decisions. Repeat it until it becomes a law within you. Because when you protect your emotional state, you protect your destiny. Remember, peace is not the absence of emotion, but the control of it. And every day, through awareness, through patience, through self-control, you build emotional strength that no one can take from you. In the next chapter, we'll take this further, from emotional control to the art of mental focus. Because once you master your emotions, the next tip is mastering your attention. The power to direct your mind toward what truly matters. And that is where transformation turns into creation. The journey continues. Chapter 5. The Art of Mental Focus. Your mind is like a lens. Where you point it, everything sharpens. What you ignore fades into the background. And yet, most people live with their lens unfocused, blurred by distractions, fears, and noise. They want clarity, but they never adjust the focus. In a world overflowing with information, your attention has become your most valuable currency. Everyone wants it. Every screen, every sound, every notification, all fighting for a moment of your awareness. And yet, you only have so much of it to give. If you don't take control of your focus, something else will. Here's the truth: you cannot do hard things with a scattered mind. You cannot create greatness while constantly switching directions. You cannot live intentionally when your attention is fractured into 1,000 pieces. Mental focus is not just about concentration, it's about energy. Where your focus goes, your energy flows. And where your energy flows, your life grows. If you keep watering distractions, distractions will flourish. If you keep watering doubts, doubts will multiply. But if you choose to water purpose, to pour your focus into the things that truly matter, everything changes. Think about it like this. Imagine holding a magnifying glass under the sun. The sunlight itself is powerful, but scattered. It warms everything slightly. Yet when focused through that lens, it becomes fire, sharp enough to burn through wood. That's the power of concentrated attention. It turns potential into power. Your mind works the same way. Every time you focus deeply on one thing, one skill, one goal, one problem, your thoughts gather like rays of sunlight, and suddenly, what felt impossible begins to move. Not because the world changed, but because you did. But let's be honest, focusing is hard, not because you're lazy, but because we live in an age of constant stimulation. Your phone pings, your thoughts race, your environment distracts. We've trained ourselves to crave interruption. We've built habits that reward us for scattering our attention. So the first step to mastering focus is this. Protect your attention like it's sacred, because it is. Your focus is the gatekeeper of your future. Whatever passes through it shapes your destiny. Start small. When you're doing something, do only that. If you're reading, if you're working, just work. If you're resting, just rest. The moment you try to do everything at once, you weaken the power of your presence. Presence, that's the key. Focus isn't something you force, it's something you allow. When you bring your mind fully into the present moment, distractions lose their grip. You stop thinking about what could go wrong and start moving with what's right in front of you. Mental focus is a muscle, and it strengthens through repetition. The more you train it, the longer you can hold attention without drifting. At first, it feels frustrating. You'll catch your thoughts wandering again and again, but every time you bring your mind back, you're training discipline. Every return to focus is a victory. You don't need to control every thought, you just need to direct the important ones. That's the art of focus, not fighting your mind, but leading it, becoming the observer, not the prisoner. There's a story about archers in ancient Japan. They would practice for years, not just to hit a target, but to still their mind. They believed that true accuracy came not from the bow, but from the silence within the archer. Because when the mind is quiet, the body follows effortlessly. The arrow finds its mark. The same is true for you. When your mind is noisy, your aim is off. You make impulsive choices. You chase shiny distractions. You lose your rhythm. But when you find stillness, when you focus with clarity, your actions align with purpose. Ask yourself this: what deserves my focus right now? Not what demands it, not what shouts the loudest, but what deserves it. Because not everything loud is important, and not everything urgent is meaningful. Once you identify what truly matters, remove the noise around it. Simplify. Your environment shapes your attention more than you realize. If your workspace is chaotic, your mind will be too. If your digital life is cluttered, your focus will scatter. Create spaces, physical and mental, that invite clarity. And understand this: focus is not just for productivity, it's for peace. When you can focus, you can actually experience life more fully. You taste your food, you hear the tone of a loved one's voice, you notice beauty in small moments. Focus brings presence, and presence brings meaning. Distraction, on the other hand, drains meaning from everything. You can be surrounded by abundance and still feel empty because your attention is split. You can have love, success, opportunity, but if your mind is elsewhere, you miss it all. That's the real cost of distraction, not time, but life itself. So train your focus like your future depends on it, because it does. Start your day with clarity. Ask yourself, what is the one thing I will give my full attention to today? Then guard it, protect it, defend it from every digital thief that tries to steal it. And when your mind wanders, don't punish yourself. Just return, gently, patiently, again and again, like bringing a child home each time they wander too far. That's how mastery is built. Eventually, focus becomes your natural state. You'll find yourself calm in chaos, present in noise, grounded when others are overwhelmed. That's the power of mental discipline, because once you master your focus, you no longer waste energy on distractions. You channel it into growth, creation, and meaning. You move from reaction to direction, from chaos to clarity, from noise to purpose. And in that clarity, life opens up. You stop chasing 100 things and start becoming excellent at one. You realize that success is not about doing more, it's about doing what matters most with full attention. So remember this: where your focus goes, your future flows. Choose carefully what you give your mind to, because in the end, your attention is your life, and the way you use it defines who you become. In the next chapter, we'll go even deeper into the battle that lives within every focused mind: resistance. the invisible force that tries to pull you away from your goals the moment you get close to them, and more importantly, how to fight back and win. Stay with me. The real war for your mind begins there. Chapter 6. The Power of Stillness. There is a moment that exists between every breath, a space so small it's often ignored, yet within it lies the key to peace, clarity, and strength. That space is stillness. It's the silence after a storm, the calm before a breakthrough, the quiet realization that you don't always have to chase to win. Stillness isn't the absence of movement, it's the mastery of it. It's the moment when your mind stops running and your awareness takes the lead. We live in a world addicted to motion, to the next notification, the next task, the next goal. We confuse busyness with progress, noise with purpose, and chaos with meaning. But what if the real power, the kind that transforms your life from the inside out, doesn't come from doing more, but from pausing long enough to hear what your soul has been trying to tell you all along? Stillness isn't laziness, it's alignment. It's what happens when your actions are no longer random, when they flow from understanding rather than impulse. In stillness, you remember that peace is not something you find at the end of your journey. It's the foundation you build every step on. The truth is, most people are terrified of stillness, because when the noise stops, the truth begins to speak. And the truth, the real, raw truth, can be uncomfortable. It reminds you of the things you've avoided, the wounds you've buried, the dreams you've silenced. But here's the paradox. The very thing you fear in stillness is what will set you free. When you finally stop running, you meet yourself. Not the version you show the world, but the one that's been whispering beneath all your distractions. The one that knows who you are, what you need, and where you're meant to go. In that quiet space, clarity begins to form. You begin to see which battles are worth fighting, and which ones only drain your spirit. You begin to understand that peace is not the reward for solving all your problems. It's the state that allows you to solve them with grace. Stillness sharpens your awareness. It helps you notice the patterns you've been repeating, the emotional loops that keep you stuck, the habits that look like productivity but are really just avoidance. You can't heal what you won't face, and you can't face what you keep drowning in noise. There's a deep wisdom that only reveals itself in quiet. It's the wisdom that guides without shouting, the kind that doesn't demand but gently reminds. It's that inner knowing that says, you don't need to rush, you're not behind, you just need to return. Return to yourself. Return to balance. Return to presence. The world teaches you to chase everything outside of you. Stillness teaches you that everything you've been chasing is already within. You've just been too distracted to notice. Think of your mind like a muddy river. When the water is constantly stirred, you can't see through it. But when it becomes still, the dirt settles, and the reflection becomes clear. That's what happens to your thoughts when you embrace stillness. The fog lifts. The noise fades. What's true becomes visible again. But remember, stillness is not always quiet on the outside. You can be sitting in traffic, surrounded by chaos, and still be calm inside. You can be facing challenges, deadlines, or uncertainty, and still move from peace, not panic. Because stillness isn't about the world around you, it's about the world within you. To live from stillness is to move from wisdom instead of fear. It's to respond instead of react. It's to realize that not everything deserves your energy, and not every noise deserves your attention. When you master stillness, you stop being pulled by the noise of the world, and start being guided by the quiet strength of your spirit. You no longer chase, you attract. You no longer grasp, you allow. You no longer struggle to prove, you simply become. Stillness gives birth to clarity. Clarity gives birth to direction. Direction gives birth to purpose. And from purpose, everything else begins to align. When you start practicing stillness, even for a few moments each day, something remarkable happens. Your thoughts begin to slow, your energy starts to balance, you begin to feel centered, grounded and whole again. That's when your creativity flows naturally. That's when intuition becomes sharper. That's when decisions become easier. Because you're no longer choosing from confusion, you're choosing from peace. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is nothing. Not out of avoidance, but out of awareness. Not because you've given up, but because you finally trust that what's meant for you will find you, and what's not will fall away. The world glorifies hustle, but stillness is not the enemy of progress. It's the source of it. You can't hear inspiration when your mind is screaming. You can't feel guidance when you're buried in distraction. And you can't evolve if you never pause long enough to listen to what your soul is asking for. Stillness is where breakthroughs are born. It's where ideas form, healing begins, and peace returns. It's where your highest self whispers, "This is who you are, this is where you're going. Trust this path." So take a breath, let the noise fade for a moment, let silence speak louder than your thoughts. Because in the end, it's not the world that needs to quiet down. It's you, who must remember how to be still enough to hear what truly matters. And when you find that stillness within you, you'll never lose your direction again. Because stillness doesn't take you away from life, it brings you deeper into it. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to use that inner calm, not just for peace, but for power. How to turn your stillness into action that feels aligned, purposeful, and unstoppable. Because when peace moves, it becomes strength. And that strength is what transforms everything. Chapter 7. Turn stillness into strength. There comes a moment in every journey when calm alone is no longer enough. When you've found your stillness, your peace, but something inside you whispers, "Now it's time to move." That's where transformation truly begins. Because peace was never meant to make you passive. It was meant to make you powerful. Stillness without action becomes stagnation, but stillness with purpose, that becomes strength. It's the kind of strength that doesn't shout or show off. It moves quietly, deliberately, and with certainty. The world tells you that power looks like domination. That strength is loud, fast, and forceful. But real strength isn't born from chaos. It's born from control. It's the calm presence that walks into a storm and says, "I am not afraid of this." It's the kind of strength that doesn't need to prove, it simply is. Think about the ocean. On the surface, waves crash and roar, wild, uncontrollable, and loud. But dive deep beneath the surface, and everything changes. It's quiet there, still, yet the power in that depth could move mountains of water, shape entire coastlines, and swallow ships whole. That's what inner strength feels like. Calm on the outside, unstoppable within. When you find your stillness, you gain access to that depth. You stop reacting, and you start responding. You stop forcing, and you start flowing. And when your actions rise from peace, instead of panic, they carry a power that chaos never can. Strength, built from stillness, doesn't rely on external validation. It doesn't crumble when people doubt you. It doesn't vanish when things don't go as planned. Because it's rooted, not in ego, but in truth. You've met people like that, haven't you? The ones who don't need to raise their voice to command a room. The ones who speak few words, but every one of them lands with weight. That's not confidence born from arrogance. It's power born from alignment. They've learned how to turn their inner stillness into outer strength. The question is, how do you? It starts with intention. Before you act, pause. Before you respond, breathe. Before you decide, listen. Not to the noise of the world, but to the calm inside you. That silence within is your compass. It tells you what's right for you before your mind even finishes the thought. Then, once you've found clarity, move. Don't wait for perfect timing. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for certainty. When your heart feels aligned, take the step. Stillness gives you direction. Action gives you transformation. Every great creator, every visionary, every master of their craft has understood this balance. They take time to pause, reflect, and reset. And then, when it's time, they act with complete conviction. That's what makes their movements meaningful. That's what separates power from noise. When your actions rise from stillness, they carry intention. They're not driven by fear, but by faith. You're not reacting to life anymore. You're co-creating with it. You become both grounded and in motion, rooted and rising. It's not about rushing forward. It's about moving from alignment. The tree doesn't strain to grow. It simply reaches toward the light that calls it. The river doesn't force its flow. It simply follows the path that nature carved for it. Likewise, your power doesn't come from forcing life to obey you. It comes from aligning with what life is asking from you. And that's when your strength becomes unstoppable. You'll notice that things begin to fall into place more easily. Not because life suddenly became simple, but because you did. Your mind isn't scattered anymore. Your energy isn't divided. You've learned to move with focus, like a laser, instead of a floodlight. That's the kind of strength that moves mountains quietly. It's the energy of someone who knows exactly who they are and no longer wastes energy trying to be anything else. But here's the truth many people overlook. Turning stillness into strength takes courage. It takes courage to trust your intuition when logic says otherwise. It takes courage to act with calm conviction when others are panicking. It takes courage to move with purpose instead of speed. And it takes faith. Faith in yourself. Faith in timing. Faith in the unseen rhythm of life. Because sometimes strength doesn't look like charging forward. Sometimes it looks like holding your ground. Sometimes it's saying no to things that no longer align, even when they're familiar. Sometimes it's walking away quietly, without bitterness, because peace is worth more than pride. When you begin living this way, you become unshakable, not because life stops testing you, but because you stop being moved by everything that tries to shake you. You stand firm, centered, rooted, and that stillness inside you becomes your shield. You no longer fight every battle. You no longer chase every opportunity. You understand that power isn't in doing everything. It's in choosing what truly matters. That's what it means to turn stillness into strength, to let peace fuel your purpose, to let quiet confidence replace desperate action, to move not because you have to, but because you're called to. Every time you pause before reacting, you build strength. Every time you act from peace instead of fear, you build mastery. Every time you listen inward before moving outward, you become more powerful than you were the day before. This is how stillness becomes strength, through awareness, intention, and aligned action. Because stillness alone gives you peace. Action alone gives you progress. But when peace and action merge, they create purpose, and that purpose, lived out fully, is what changes everything. As you step into the next chapter, remember this: your stillness is your foundation, your strength is your movement. Together, they form the unbreakable core of who you are becoming. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to use this newfound strength to create impact, not through force, but through influence, because real power doesn't demand attention, it inspires it. Chapter 8: Influence without force. Power has many forms. Some scream to be seen, others whisper, yet they move the world. Influence is that quiet kind of power. It doesn't demand, it doesn't chase, It doesn't need approval. It simply is. Think about it. The sun never shouts for attention, yet every living thing turns toward its light. That's what true influence feels like. It's not about controlling others. It's about becoming so aligned, so grounded, so authentic, that others can't help but feel your energy shift them. Most people think influence comes from position, from fame, or from authority. But the deepest kind of influence comes from presence, from how you make people feel when they're around you, from the energy you bring into a room before you even speak a word. Real influence doesn't push, it pulls, it draws others in, not through pressure, but through inspiration. Because people don't truly follow commands, they follow conviction. When you live in alignment with your truth, you don't have to convince anyone. Your life becomes the message, your calm becomes the proof, your consistency becomes the teaching, and your strength becomes the example. That's how leaders are born, not from control but from character, not from being the loudest voice, but from being the clearest one, the kind that cuts through noise simply by speaking truth. You've probably known people who carried that kind of influence. Maybe it was a teacher, a mentor, or even someone you barely knew, yet something about them stayed with you. They didn't try to impress, they simply embodied something you needed to see, and that presence changed you, even if only in small ways. That's what real influence does. It awakens something dormant in others. It says, look within, you have this too. But to influence without force, you must first become what you wish to inspire. You cannot teach peace while you live in chaos. You cannot preach integrity while you compromise your own values. You cannot lead others to light if you haven't faced your own darkness. Your influence begins the moment your inner world matches the message you share with the outer one. When what you say, what you do, and who you are all align, people feel it. They might not know why they trust you. They might not even agree with everything you say, but they'll sense something real. And in a world full of masks, realness is magnetic. Influence without force is rooted in empathy. It's not about being right, it's about being understanding. When you truly listen to someone, when you make them feel seen instead of judged, that's influence. Because you've touched something deeper than their mind, you've reached their heart. You don't need to win arguments to change lives. You just need to live your truth so fully that it becomes undeniable. Imagine this: a calm voice in a room full of shouting will always be heard. Why? Because calm cuts through chaos. Stillness draws attention in a way that shouting never can. That's what happens when you move through life with quiet confidence. Your energy speaks louder than your words. If you want to influence others, stop trying to change them. Start by transforming yourself. People learn far more by observing your consistency than by listening to your advice. Show them what alignment looks like, and they'll naturally begin to align themselves. There's a power in not needing to prove, in simply showing up as who you are. No performance, no mask, no pretense. Because influence is not about being followed. It's about planting something true in the hearts of others, and trusting that it will grow in its own time. Sometimes, influence means saying less and listening more. It means knowing when silence is the strongest answer. It means holding your ground with grace, not resistance. Because influence without force is the art of strength in softness. It's choosing clarity over control. It's choosing purpose over pride. It's choosing to be the example rather than demand one. This kind of power doesn't fade when you leave the room. It lingers. It echoes in the minds and hearts of the people you've touched, even if they never tell you so. That's the beauty of quiet impact. It travels further than you ever imagine. So ask yourself, what kind of influence do you want to leave behind? One that depends on being seen and remembered, or one that shapes others so deeply that it becomes part of who they are? Influence without force doesn't happen overnight. It grows in the moments when you choose understanding over reaction. It deepens every time you choose to walk your talk, even when no one's watching. It strengthens every time you decide to be the calm in the chaos, the light when others only see dark. And as you live this way, your life begins to speak louder than your words ever could. That's when you stop trying to make an impact and start being one. Remember, true influence is not what you get others to do, it's what you awaken in them. It's what you remind them of, their power, their worth, their potential. It's not about bending people to your will, but helping them rise to their own. Because the greatest influencers don't create followers, they create more leaders. They light candles without losing their own flame. They spread strength without shouting for attention. That's the kind of influence the world needs more of. Steady, silent, and sincere. So as you move through life, let your actions become your language. Let your consistency become your voice. And let your peace become your message. Because influence born from alignment never fades. It doesn't depend on applause or recognition. It doesn't need validation to feel real. It simply radiates quietly, powerfully, endlessly. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to take this energy, this silent power, and use it to elevate every area of your life, because influence without force is only the beginning. The next step is impact with purpose. Chapter 9. Mastery through relentless action. There's a moment in every journey where knowing what to do is no longer enough, where clarity and purpose have aligned, and yet the world remains indifferent to your dreams. This is the moment that separates those who wish from those who become. Mastery is not born in comfort. It is forged in relentless action. It is built in the quiet hours when no one is watching, in the repeated steps that feel small, even meaningless, yet compound into greatness over time. It is the refusal to stop, the refusal to settle, the refusal to allow hesitation to dictate your future. Imagine a sculptor before a block of marble. At first, it is nothing more than potential, raw, cold, and unformed. With each strike, each careful movement, the form begins to emerge, yet it is not sudden. It is not the first chisel that defines the masterpiece. It is the thousands of strikes, the consistent repetition, the unwavering persistence that reveals the final shape. Your mind, your abilities, your life, they are no different. Every decision to act, every small step toward your goal is a strike against the block of potential. Even when progress feels invisible, every action is shaping you into someone capable of greatness. That is the secret most people overlook. Mastery is a process, not an event. And yet, most people are seduced by waiting for the right moment, waiting for clarity, waiting for permission. But the truth is, the right moment doesn't exist. Clarity is built through action. Permission comes only from yourself. Relentless action is not about doing everything, it's about doing what matters most, consistently, even when the work is hard, uncomfortable, and often unseen. It is the discipline to rise when your body protests. It is the courage to continue when your mind whispers excuses. It is the humility to learn from failure instead of letting it define you. Every person who achieves mastery has faced this exact crossroads. They have looked at the enormity of the task ahead and felt the weight of doubt pressing down. And yet, they acted anyway, because mastery is not a result of feeling ready. It is a result of doing, even when you are not. Here's the reality few people will tell you. Action is a multiplier of ability. Talent without action is wasted potential. Ideas without execution are illusion. Strength without movement is a seed that never grows. To take relentless action, you must embrace discomfort. You must welcome resistance as a guide, not an obstacle. Because every time you push through difficulty, every time you act when your instincts scream to retreat, you expand the boundaries of what is possible. You are teaching your mind and body that failure is temporary, that limitation is optional, and that persistence is a skill that can be honed. Consider the athlete who trains before dawn, when the world sleeps. Consider the writer who types through fatigue, through self-doubt, through fear that no one will read their words. Consider the entrepreneur who takes risks while everyone else seeks security. They do not act because they feel invincible. They act because they understand that consistent action creates invincibility. Relentless action is also a test of character. It reveals who you truly are when circumstances are indifferent. It shows whether your goals are wishes or commitment, and it proves that the mind is capable of more than you ever believed, but only if you are willing to take the steps over and over again when the outcome is uncertain. Here is a practice to cultivate this skill. Break every large goal into the smallest possible action. Focus only on the next step, then the next, then the next. Relentless action is not about giant leaps. It is about unstoppable forward motion. Even when progress feels microscopic, even when frustration tempts you to stop, the chain of movement compounds. What seems insignificant today becomes extraordinary in months, even years of disciplined effort. And here is another truth. Relentless action is not mindless busyness. It is deliberate, focused, and aligned with your values. Random activity is noise. Purposeful activity is mastery in motion. Every strike, every decision, every effort is aimed at shaping the life you intend to live. The beauty of relentless action is that it trains more than skill. It trains resilience. Every time you rise after failure, every time you act despite fear, your confidence grows. Your mind learns that discomfort is temporary, but growth is permanent. Your identity shifts from someone who hopes to someone who creates. At this stage of your journey, you have clarity, you have influence, you have strength. But mastery demands more than understanding. It demands that you move with discipline, with courage, with relentless focus, even when no one else notices. Because here's the truth: no one achieves greatness for comfort. No one becomes extraordinary by waiting for validation. No one creates a life worth remembering without showing up again and again when it would be easier to quit. So commit to action, not sporadic bursts, not reactive responses, but consistent, focused, unstoppable effort. Build the habit of doing, not just thinking. Build the habit of pushing beyond limits, of turning obstacles into lessons, of transforming uncertainty into momentum. Mastery is not a finish line. It is the ongoing process of choosing action over inertia, courage over fear, persistence over doubt. It is the commitment to show up every day, fully, despite the unknown. And when you live this way, something remarkable happens. You stop waiting for life to hand you opportunities. You start creating them. You stop hoping for change. You become the change. You stop fearing failure. You use it as fuel. Relentless action is the bridge between potential and achievement, between dreams and reality, between who you are and who you are capable of becoming. As you prepare for the final chapter, carry this truth with you. Mastery is not granted, it is earned. Step by step, action by action, you carve yourself into the person who can no longer be denied by circumstance, by doubt, or by fear. In the next chapter we will bring everything together: your clarity, your strength, your influence, and your relentless action, and reveal how to live a life of unstoppable purpose. Chapter 10: Unstoppable Purpose. Living the life you were meant to live. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine standing at the edge of a cliff at sunrise. The wind is strong, carrying the scent of possibilities. Below, the world stretches vast and untamed, waiting for someone to take flight. That someone is you. You have climbed mountains of doubt, walked through valleys of fear, and crossed deserts of hesitation. Every chapter you've lived, Every lesson, every struggle, every small victory has led to this moment. And now, the question before you is simple, yet profound. Will you step forward into your life with unstoppable purpose? Purpose is not a distant destination. It is the energy you carry into every action, the fire that fuels relentless motion, the clarity that sharpens every decision. Without purpose, even the most skilled, most disciplined, or most courageous person can drift, lost in the noise of the world. But when purpose is present, every obstacle becomes a challenge to overcome, every fear becomes a stepping stone, and every day becomes a canvas on which to paint your legacy. Living with unstoppable purpose begins with alignment. It begins when what you think, what you say, and what you do all converge in a single direction. When your actions reflect your deepest values, your energy becomes magnetic, your decisions become effortless, and your life becomes meaningful, because nothing in the world can stop someone who knows why they are moving forward. Think back to every moment in this journey. The clarity you cultivated in the beginning, the courage you developed to act in spite of fear, the strength you built through challenge, the influence you wielded without force, and the mastery you achieved through relentless action. All of these pieces are now your foundation. They are not just lessons, they are your wings. Purpose demands action, not sporadic bursts, not waiting for permission or the perfect conditions, but constant, deliberate, meaningful motion. Every day is an opportunity to move closer to the person you are capable of becoming, to the life you were meant to live. Even small actions, repeated consistently, ripple outward to create impact far greater than you can imagine. Purpose also demands courage, the courage to face the unknown, to risk failure, to endure criticism, and to stand alone when necessary, because those who live with unstoppable purpose are not swayed by the opinions of others. They are guided by a vision inside themselves, a vision clear, unwavering, and magnetic. And yes, purpose demands honesty. Honesty with yourself about what you truly want, about what is holding you back, about what you are willing to sacrifice. It requires you to shed illusions, to confront your limitations, and to embrace the parts of yourself you may have neglected. Only when you are honest with yourself can you fully commit to the path that aligns with your deepest calling. There will be moments when the world pushes back, when fear whispers that you are not enough, when obstacles rise higher than you imagine, when the weight of doubt threatens to crush your spirit. In those moments, remember what you've learned, that strength is built through struggle, that influence is earned through authenticity, that mastery is achieved through relentless action. Purpose is not the absence of difficulty. It is the force that transforms difficulty into growth, setbacks into lessons, and resistance into momentum. It is the inner compass that keeps you moving, even when the path is unclear. It is the quiet certainty that your life matters, and that the work you do, no matter how small it may seem, is shaping the world in ways you cannot yet see. To live with unstoppable purpose is to embrace life fully. It is to rise with intention, to act with courage, to love without reservation, and to give without expectation. It is to create a legacy that extends beyond yourself, a ripple that touches the lives of others long after your presence fades. And here is the most liberating truth: your purpose is not fixed. It evolves as you grow, as you learn, as you rise to meet new challenges. It is shaped by your experiences, refined by your choices, and strengthened by your resilience. Every chapter of your life is a brushstroke on the canvas of your legacy. Every action, every word, every thought is a note in the symphony of your purpose. So step forward now. Take the lessons of this journey, the clarity, the courage, the strength, the influence, and the mastery, and channel them into deliberate, purposeful action. Live as if every day matters, because it does. Act as if the world depends on your contribution, because in truth it does. Unstoppable purpose is not about perfection. It is about commitment. It is about showing up fully, even when it is hard. It is about choosing meaning over comfort, growth over ease, and action over hesitation. You have everything you need within you: the fire, the skill, the resilience, the clarity, and the courage. All that remains is for you to step forward and let your life become the message. To let your presence, your actions, and your choices inspire others, influence change, and leave a legacy that cannot be ignored. As you move into the world from this point forward, carry this certainty: you are capable of more than you have allowed yourself to believe. You are stronger than your fears, sharper than your doubts, and more capable than any circumstance. And when you commit to living with unstoppable purpose, there is no limit to what you can achieve. This is your life. This is your moment. This is the culmination of every lesson, every struggle, every victory you have earned along the way. Step forward with intention. Move with courage. Act with relentless focus. And live the life you were meant to live, fully, powerfully, and without hesitation. The journey does not end here. It continues every day, in every choice, in every action. But now, armed with clarity, strength, influence, mastery, and purpose, you are unstoppable. Go forth and create a life that not only fulfills you, but transforms the world around you. Because this is not just about surviving. It is about thriving, not just about living, but about living with unstoppable purpose.